Workshop, ladies and gentlemen. In this module one, Professor is going to be discussing how to spot and develop high potential talent in your organization. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome Professor Debolina Datta, Professor of Organizational Behavior and Human Resources Management, IIM Bangalore.
Can you just put my PPT up? Okay, good morning and welcome to all of you. So, when Meenal asked me to talk out here, I said, what can a gray-haired professor tell you, which, people who are out in the trenches doing all the work, I mean, what can I share with you? So I thought, let's use the collective wisdom of the crowd here, right? Those of you fond of reading, there's a very interesting book by James Surowiecki, which talks about wisdom of the crowd, and wisdom of the crowd has been proven to build great products and platforms like Stack Exchange, Reddit, Quora, Wikipedia. So, they say that those who can, do. Those who can't, teach. Right? So, all of you are in the trenches. You're dealing with the issues of talent management. You're dealing with the issues of high potential workforce, identifying, developing, retaining, all of that, right? So we thought let's try and get this collective wisdom out. And so that's what we're going to do. And so people who are outside bringing your tea and coffee might be a good time to come back in. Those of you who are at the back, I'd like you all to come and occupy the tables in front, because there's going to be some activity that you're going to do, and that's how we are harnessing the collective wisdom of the group. So please do come and sit in front, okay? So, So what we're going to do right now, I think all the panelists have been talking about, the way the world is changing, all the forces that's implementing it, whether it's technology, all the multi-generation workforce. And thanks to COVID, now we are all working remote. All of that is happening, right? So it's putting a lot of pressure on all of you. So what we're going to do now is, if you look at it, right, from a business perspective, I mean, it's very simple, 3 simple drivers that, irrespective of which function or industry or life stage of organization we are in, they're just 3 things that businesses are doing, right? So we just want to make money, we want to save money and manage our risk. It's just that simple, in any which way you look at it. And so these drivers then change down to what we do as in terms of our people strategy and our HR policies, right? So what we're going to do through this exercise is try and understand across industries, across sectors, across life stages, what are some of these practices. So that's our intent, right? Fundamentally, we say, people is where the money is. And unfortunately, it doesn't get reflected in a P&L, but I thought I'll just show you that, yes, people do add value, right? And so this is the value of economic profit as we see it from our balance sheets and our P&Ls. How do we translate it back to people value, right? I mean, how do we, as HR, monetize the value of people? And so you see organizations doing a lot of this in terms of, managing employee productivity, your average cost, linear headcount growth, non-linear headcount growth, all of that stuff. Right. I'm going to give this deck out to you guys, so don't worry about it. What we see again is different strategies based on short-term and long-term orientation, right? And so how we drive value from our people is coming out differently, right? Now, there was a very interesting study that I read, which I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but what emerged in that study was that 68% of organizations were found to be spending more resources in managing the recruitment-related activities. That means external hiring, right? It means 2 out of 3 organizations were spending more money in more people, more investment in technology, more managerial and leadership bandwidth going into selecting external talent. Now that's crazy. I mean, all of us intuitively understand that it's just so makes so much of sense to just groom talent internally and develop it, right? I mean, retaining a customer is much more economical than acquiring a new customer. So it sort of seems like diya tale andhera. We're kind of going and looking out for new talent, and that seems to be the predominant energy and focus of HR. But what are we doing in terms of managing our talent? So what we're going to do now, and I've been told very strictly that I have to stick to the timeline. So now this is where you guys are going to do all the work. Like I said, collective wisdom of the crowd. So there are going to be sheets coming around at your table, and backbenchers. I mean, I do this always in class. Backbenchers, come in front, right? Please occupy the seats in front because we need your inputs. If you find an empty chair, it's just going to be easier. That's all. Please, I'm requesting you all again. There are a lot of empty chairs out here in the circles in front. Please do come and join in front. What you're going to do in the next 15 minutes, and you have only 15 minutes to do it, so you all have to talk at the table extensively, and one person in the table is going to be a scribe. Meena, where's Meena? I can't see any Meena. Are you all distributing the sheets? Everybody, there's some big sheet at the table, right? Yeah, and some sketch pens. Okay. First, here's what you're going to do. First, top hand. I'm going to keep this slide on so that you have that guidance of what you're expected to do. First is, what's your approach to managing high potential, right? I mean, are you using some variation of 9-box? Are you looking at, behaviors? I'm not going to kind of sort of prompt you on what you're doing, but let's get that out there. Okay, so that's the thing. The second box, second top right quadrant, is what are you doing to retain? So what, special learning and investment plans, short-term retention plans, ESOPs, what all are the things that you all are doing, which is contextual to you in your industry that you're doing. So you're going to document all of that, right? But this is where it gets interesting, and this is where the collective learning is going to happen, right? So you're going to spend some time in talking about anything innovative that you're doing which is specific to your context. So what are you doing to attract or retain talent? Because talent management is all of that, right? From acquisition to managing the performance, developing them, retaining them. So all of that you're going to, anything that you think is really innovative that you have done, and please share it at a table and document it, right? And even if we get even one great idea from every table, that's a lot of learning for all of us. The last part is going to be unintended consequences. Now, this is an interesting thing because many times when, especially we have this sort of 2020 vision in hindsight for many policies and practices that we bring in. So sometimes we're not very sure that, it'll play out, or it might end up in a very different way. For example, in the 70s, the government had increased personal tax to a very high level. Unintended consequences, we saw a lot of black money. We saw industry coming out with creative avenues of, tax saving mechanisms in the way the compensation was dispersed. So maybe, whoever's doing it may not be able to think of an unintended consequence, but maybe at the table you all can ideate and say, is this a possible unintended consequence? Any questions, clarifications? Okay, so backbenchers, you're still not coming in front, yeah? But I'm still seeing empty seats here. So you all have 15 minutes to do this, and I'm going to be going around the room and making sure that you're really, please, your wisdom is what we are seeking, right? So please do speak about all of this. This is what you're going to do. I'm going to be collecting all of this and then sharing it to you just after lunch. So that's where I'll collect it and put it into some framework, and that's going to be my contribution, right? So 15 minutes is what we have. When at the end of 15 minutes, I'm going to just ask you all at your table to talk about the bottom two. Not so much the top two, those will be presented, but is there innovative ideas that you have had coming out at your table? So please talk about it. Those of you sitting at the back on those benches, you're going to be getting one sheet per line. So, you're going to have to figure out either you want to go outside and do it or you want to huddle around out there, but we want your inputs also. Okay? So great, your time starts now. We have 15 minutes to finish this activity.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Professor Datta for that very engaging session.